Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Caleb. I am the communications director here at Redemption. Thank you for those of you who are in person. For those of you that are watching online, thank you so much for tuning in. We are in week 2 of our sermon series, Running on Empty. And essentially, Pastor Brandon kicked us off last week, and he said that the thesis of the series is this, that 2020 is basically casual Friday at the office, and we are all Kevin trying to get chili back into the pot. Like that's what, if you don't get that reference, just know, hey, the secret is you undercook the onions. That's the secret to his chili. That's essentially 2020, right? In a nutshell. We're all worn out physically, mentally, emotionally, some of us even spiritually. And so the question is, how do we deal with this? It's 2020, we're in November, the holidays are coming up. I think we got out of the election. They may still be counting, I don't know, but it's not slowing down anytime soon. It's the holidays are coming up. Hey, anybody know it's going to be really busy around the holidays? It's not a time to slow down. It's a time that everything speeds back up because you got everything happening and you're running around and doing everything. So how do we find the time to rest? Because it's a lot. So that's what we want to talk about in this series. And Pastor Brandon kicked us off and he said, hey, the way you recover, the way you regain your strength is you look to the God who is the source of your strength. He said, come to me all who are weary, heavy laden, I will give you rest. And so we look to God as our rest. We turn to his word, we gather with his people, and that's how we can find rest. And so over the next 3 weeks, as we close out this series, we want to talk about very practical ways that God has given us so that we can regain our strength and we can rest. Very practical things that you and I can do. And the first one this week is we're going to talk about the Sabbath rest. Now, if you're new to the Bible, if you're new to church, you may have still heard the word Sabbath previously because it's found in Exodus 20, the 10 Commandments. God gives the 10 Commandments to Charlton Heston on Mount Sinai. He brings them down and he reads them. And we're going to go ahead. Thank you for those of you that got that. We're going to read the 4th commandment, the Sabbath commandment, so we all can kind of have an understanding of what the Sabbath is collectively. Exodus 20, verse 8 says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Holy means set apart, different, other, not like the same. That's what holy means. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. Hey, work's good. Hard work is good. Labor is good. Laziness is not necessarily to be rewarded. Work is good, but the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work. Let me translate that for 2020. On it you shall not answer your emails that come in on your phone. On it you shall not go up to the office and just catch up on a few things. On it you shall do no work. You, your son or your daughter, so this is a family thing. Parents, if you didn't get all the work done around the house, you don't get to sit down on the couch and make sure that they do all the chores. No, this is a family thing. We all get to Sabbath together as a family. Your male servant, your female servant. Employers, if you didn't finish your job, don't make your employees go to work for you. You can't Sabbath and make your employees go to Sabbath because they don't have the ability to choose that on their own. No. If you're paying somebody, you get to give them as many days off as you get. Your livestock, so if you're a farmer, you can't put a carrot in front of the cow as they're plowing the field. I think that's how you do it. I don't know how you do that. You put the carrot in front of the cow, they plow the field. No, you can't do that either. Not even the sojourner who is within your gate. So a person who's traveling with you, if they're staying at your house, anybody under one roof, you all Sabbath together. The Sabbath is a whole household thing. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and he rested on the 7th day. Therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Now, when we read the Sabbath, especially that we're 3,500 years away from this, and we live in the age of Jesus, we live in the age of grace, there's a tension that arises in this, and it's this: should Christians observe the Sabbath? Should Christians still obey this Sabbath? I mean, it's in the 10 Commandments, but it doesn't seem very practical right now. I mean, do you know how much work I have to get done? Do you know how many kids I have at the house? I can't just not work. So should we do that? I mean, again, we're living in the time of Jesus. We're saved by grace, not works. We're not saved because we keep the law. Anybody believe that we should still keep all of the Old Testament laws, all 614 in the Old Testament, even though we're under grace? I mean, Jesus did say in Matthew 5, hey, I didn't come to abolish the law. John says, hey, if you love me, you'll keep my commands. So we got to keep all the Old Testament laws? Well, if that's the case, then I guess you can't eat shellfish and you can't wear clothes that have multiple fabrics in them. Ladies, if it's that time of the month, they're going to need you to camp out. while we take care of those things? Hey, so you can't do that. No. So I guess we don't have to keep all the Old Testament commands. So we're under grace. We don't keep the laws. What about murder? What about stealing? What about lying? I mean, do we keep those laws? Yeah, we probably should, right? I mean, even if you're not a believer, you're like, I don't think it's okay to murder just because Jesus is around, right? Like, no, we shouldn't do that. Jesus mentions multiple commandments in the New Testament. In Matthew 19, he's talking to a rich young ruler. He says, hey, how do I enter the kingdom of heaven? And says, are you keeping the law? Are you not murdering? Are you not committing adultery? Are you not stealing? Are you not lying? It's very clear. And it's even harder when we look at the other 9 commandments that are in Exodus 20. We have the 10 commandments. This 4th one right here talks about the Sabbath. It's the only one that's not explicitly mentioned in the New Testament as something that we should still keep. So do we observe this? I mean, again, 2020, it's very busy. My life is very busy. How am I supposed to keep the commands? Should I do that? Well, I think you should. But probably not for the reasons that you're thinking. And so what I want to do is I want to take us to Mark chapter 2. Now in Mark 2, Jesus is walking along with his disciples and he interacts with the Pharisees. Let me find my place here. Sorry. Mark 2. Jesus is interacting with the Pharisees, the religious leaders of the day. It says, one Sabbath, he was going through the grain fields, and as they made their way, his disciples began to pluck heads of grain. So they're walking through the field, there's heads of grain on the stalk, and they're picking at them, and they're rubbing them in their hands, and they're kind of chewing on the grain. It's the same as kids. If you're walking along, you see a nice big walking stick, you pick up the stick and you start walking with it. You used to do that when you were kids. Kids are in here right now, you probably do that. You're walking underneath a tree, and there's like Spanish moss kind of hanging a little bit low, so you reach and you pick on. Am I the only one that does that? Okay, all right. Verse 24, the Pharisees are saying to him, look, why are they doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath? Because in the Old Testament, there are ways in which you keep the Sabbath, and these are the Pharisees. They're telling you the ways that you can break the Sabbath. And so the disciples, they're harvesting. They're picking on the grain, so they're harvesting. They're breaking the Sabbath. And they're rubbing their hands together, and they're making it able for them to eat. So I guess they're producing food. They're making food on the Sabbath. They're breaking the Sabbath law. Jesus, aren't you going to do anything? They're trying to trap Jesus and invalidate him and his claims based on really a technicality of the law here. Religious people never do that today, right? We never look at the people who are breaking laws differently than the laws that we're breaking, and we think we're doing better than them. We're not struggling with the same sin that they're struggling with, and so we're doing a lot better than them, right? That's what the Pharisees are doing. Hey, they're breaking the law. They're breaking the law in a way that we would never break the law. Jesus points out their hypocrisy in verse 25. He says to them, have you never read what David did when he was in need, was hungry, he and those who were with him, how he entered the house of God in the time of Abiathar the high priest, ate the bread of the presence, which it is not lawful for any but the priest to eat, and also gave it to those who were with him? Jesus is really getting at the heart of the matter here, and he says, hey, they may be breaking the letter of the law, but are they breaking the spirit of the law? Just because you have said that this is the way you're supposed to keep the law, is this the way that they're truly supposed to keep the law? I mean, if you know anything about Jesus says, hey, it's not enough just to with your hands not break the law. He says in Matthew 5, he says, hey, it's not enough not to murder, but if you hate somebody so much that you wish they were dead, that's the same thing as if you murdered. It's not enough not to commit adultery. If you look at a woman and you want to be with her, that's the same thing as committing adultery. Jesus is not saying that, hey, they're breaking the law because they're doing a specific thing. Jesus is getting to the heart of the matter, and he's getting to the spirit of the law, and he sums it up in verse 27 when he says to them, the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. In other words, God didn't create the laws and then say, I'm going to create humans so I can watch them struggle keeping the laws. He drops humans into the maze and the labyrinth of the law and says, you have to weave your way through this and don't go the wrong way, otherwise you're going to get punished. I mean, 2020 is one gigantic punishment for you guys not keeping the laws for the last 2,000 years. No, that's not it at all. That's not it at all. God, in his glory and his wisdom and his beauty, he creates man, he creates humans, he sets us on earth and he says, here's the best way to live your life. Here's the way to bring glory and honor to me, and when you do that, life will work better for you. This is the point that I want us to get today. This is the point. It's that the Sabbath is not a rule to regard, it as a lifestyle we get to live in. The Sabbath is not just this law that we're trying really hard not to break the law and we're not going to work, but we're thinking about work. Anybody do that? Anybody guilty of that? I'm guilty of that, where I don't work, but I got my phone on, and so I'm checking the emails, making sure those are not coming in, and I don't hit send, but I hit save so that on Monday I can do it. And so I've done a little bit of work, and I've not broken the law, I've not worked, but all my time is consumed with work. The Sabbath is not a rule to regard, it's this lifestyle we get to live in. It's so easy today to take our work home with us, and it almost feels like a virtue. It almost feels like a virtue that we're working harder. But God created the Sabbath as a gift to us, that we get to rest. We get the opportunity to rest. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push pause right now. We're gonna come back in a few minutes. Before I do that though, I want us to wrap our mind around this idea of it being a lifestyle. Dallas Willard is a theologian of the 20th century, and he says this, that the Sabbath is a way of life. It sets us free. It sets you and I free from bondage to our own efforts. Only in this way can we come to the power and joy of a radiant life and ministry, a blessing to all we touch. So you say, Caleb, how do I do that? How do I do that? It's so hard. I'm working all day long. I'm working 7 days a week. How do I do that? Well, I'm going to do a part 2. We're going to sing a song. We're going to have a video from our kids team. When I get back in part 2, I'm going to give us 4 reasons why we should Sabbath and 4 ways that you and I can live this lifestyle of a Sabbath. Man, that's such a great message. Thank you so much, Ross, Kristen, the kids team for these videos. Really excited. Yes, it's awesome. Parents can clap again because December 6th, elementary is coming back. Yeah. So excited, man. I am so excited I get to serve with the kids team. It's so great. We actually have room for 2 more people to serve on the team. So, hey, if you're interested or you're not serving and you're ready to get jumped in and get connected, plugged in, serving the next generation, teaching them the things of God and the things of Jesus, you have an opportunity to do that. We have a connection card, seat back pocket in front of you. It says, hey, just fill out your name, a little bit of information. We can do that. And if you're willing to, you can stick around right after second service because we have a training for our kids for December 6th. The Relay Sunday, it's going to be exciting. It's Christmas time. I've heard Buddy the Elf maybe make an appearance. Who knows? I don't know. It's possible. Hey, we're in part 2, week 2 of running on empty. And what we said as I closed out part 1 is this: the Sabbath is not a rule to regard. It's not this law that we have to do. It's this lifestyle that you and I get to live in. We get to live in this lifestyle. But if you're anything like me, you go, well, why? I still don't understand the practical reasons. Like, I get why the slaves, when they're brought out of Egypt, God explains to them why they need to take a day off. I mean, you don't give slaves any days off. They're not people, they're property. So God is teaching them that you have to take this day off because this is the best way to live. It's better for your life. But how do I do that today in 2020? Why should I live this lifestyle of Sabbath? Well, number 1 reason is to mirror the rhythm of God. We get to mirror the rhythm of God in our Sabbath. Did you know that Jesus took a nap? One of his most famous miracles, he calms the sea. He's on the boat. He calms the raging storm. You know what he was doing right before then? He was taking a nap. I want to be more like Jesus tonight. I want to be more like Jesus this afternoon. Take a nap. I remember growing up on Sunday after church. I'm a pastor's kid, and so we'd come home after church. We'd have lunch, and then we'd all take a nap. And me and my 3 siblings, we'd go, well, why do we need to take a nap? I mean, I'm not tired. Why are my parents tired? This little body has way more energy than my parents. I have a 1-year-old now, and so I regret every nap that I refused to take when I was a kid. Oh my goodness. God is glorified in naps. Amen? He's glorified in our naps. He's probably more glorified in my nap than my sermon. We'll see. You be the judge of that. Hey, rest is an act of worship because it mirrors exactly the rhythm of God. Let's go back to Exodus 20. Exodus 20 says, for the reason why he even instituted the Sabbath is, for in 6 days the Lord made heaven, the earth, the sea, all that is in them, and he rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Now that word rested does not mean that God was tired. All right, our God is all powerful. He never gets tired. But that word right there, that Hebrew word for rested, actually means that he breathed in. Our God breathed in. What had he been doing for the last 6 days? He had been speaking the universe into existence, breathing out the stars and the earth and the heavens. Even on the 6th day, he forms man and he breathes the breath of life into him. So on the seventh day, he rests. Let's all do this. Let's do this exercise real quick. On the count of three, we're all going to breathe in slowly with our nose and out through our mouth. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's do that again. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Doesn't it just feel better right now? Everybody's like, oh man, it was so hard getting into church. This is the first time I've breathed the entire morning, right? Oh, man, it's so great to be able to take time and to breathe in and just sit. You know, what's interesting about the world today is that throughout history, countries and governments have tried to get rid of the 7-day work week. Both in the French Revolution and in communist Russia in the earliest 20th century, they said, we don't need a 7-day work week. We don't need a day off. Our people don't need a day off for productivity. We're going to just, keep working. And they found out that doesn't work. It doesn't work. You have to have a day off. Why? Well, because that's the way God created us. He created us to have a day off. That brings me to my next point. The reason why we should have a day off, the reason why we should Sabbath is because we get to connect with Jesus and his people. What's interesting and a blessing that's in America is that some of us, we get 2 days off. We get Saturday and Sunday off. Some of us do. I'm not saying all of us do. Not all of us do. But some of us, we get 2 days off. Do you know why that is? After the American Revolution, the founding fathers, they got together and they wanted to make sure that their nation had a specific day off for Sabbath and for rest. And there were a lot of Seventh-day Adventists and people that believed that the Old Testament laws still applied. And they said, we have to have Saturday off. It's very important that we have Saturday off. And a lot of New Testament Christians believe, no, we need to have Sunday off because Sunday is the day that they gathered to worship in the New Testament to celebrate Jesus' resurrection. And so they said, let's just give them both days off. Let's just give them Saturday and Sunday off. So, hey, we live in America. You get twice as many days off as God. Isn't that awesome? So, the second day off, one of the things that you can do is you can connect with Jesus and his people. There are people right now serving your kids. They're taking their Sabbath to serve your kids right now in kids ministry. That's what they do on their Sabbath. They take their extra day off to serve. What does worship, what does connecting with Jesus look like for you on your Sabbath? Have you ever said, I wish I had more time to read the Bible? I wish I had more time to pray? Well, that's what the Sabbath is for. That's why God instituted the Sabbath, is so we can connect with Jesus. We can connect with his people. Listen, the only thing we're taking with us to heaven when we die is other people. So you spend all this time accumulating things, never resting. Guess what? Those things are going to stay right here on earth with you. But you get to come to heaven with people. And so I don't want to get to the end of my life. I don't want you to get to the end of your life and think, man, I wish I had more time. I wish I had more time to spend with people. So what does that look like for you? What does connecting with his people look like for you? Is it inviting them over, having dinner with them? Is it traveling, going on vacation with them? If we're ever allowed to travel again? What does that look like for you? What does Sabbath look like for you? It doesn't look the same for every single person. But that brings me to my third point. The reason why we should Sabbath is because we get to have fun. We get to have fun and make memories. Our God is a fun God. Jesus comes down to earth and kids are all around him. Kids are an excellent judge of who's fun. All right? Parents, listen. Maybe don't do that. I don't know. If you're brave, don't do it right now. Kids, don't point at your parents right now. Don't do it. But parents, ask your kids after church, which one of us is more fun? Because I guarantee you they have one of you guys picked out. They may love you equally, but one of you is a little bit harder to deal with than the other, all right? Kids are an excellent source or an excellent judge of who's fun. Our God is a father who loves his kids. Jesus, not only are the kids around him, but adults want to be around him too. Adults want to be around Jesus too. Jesus gets invited to parties, and the religious people are like, why aren't I invited to parties? Is it probably because there's something wrong with Jesus? No, really? You think it's because there's something wrong with Jesus? Maybe there's something wrong with you. Maybe you're just not fun to be around. Maybe Jesus is way more fun than you are. Jesus is more fun than the religious people. What does that say? What does that say about the way we live our life? Man, we should be fun. You're doing something well when non-Christians invite you to things that aren't nefarious. When your neighbors invite you over to have dinner and to watch the game, you're a fun person to be around. I mean, one of my favorite things to do, so my Saturday is my Sabbath. It's the day that me and Cassie Ann are both off together. That's my Sabbath. Your Sabbath could be Tuesday, Thursday, whatever day you have off. Like it doesn't matter which day it is. But my Saturday is my Sabbath, and so what I do is I have fun and I make memories with my daughter. We go to the farmer's market. That was a couple weeks ago. Went to the farmer's market with her little worship leader hat on. It was the day that it was cold for like 12 hours, so she had to wear the hat and the jacket. It was great. We walk around the farmer's market. We go to Mitchell's. I have coffee. She has milk. And we go to Scout and Tag. You say, Kayla, where's Cassianne in this? Well, her Sabbath is sitting on the couch waving goodbye to us. Like, that's her Sabbath. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. That's exactly what she wants to do on her Sabbath. So, but my Sabbath is this. I get to have fun and make memories with my children. I mean, my favorite sound in the house, and I'm sure your favorite sound in the house too if you're a parent, is when your kids laugh, when your kids are giggling. That's so much fun. Parents, could you imagine if every time you asked your kids to hang out with you, they're like, Father, Mother, I would love to spend time with you, but I have chores to do. The first time they did that, you'd fall out of your chair. You'd be like, whoa, awesome. Go finish mowing the lawn then. Go do the dishes, whatever. That's awesome. But if they did that every time, you're like, Father, Mother, I'd really like to, but there's a mess in the living room that I must clean up. You'd be like, okay, cool. Like, I'm glad that things are getting done around the house, but like, I want to spend time with you. I want to be with you. Cool, the chores are done, the work's getting done, but like, how's your heart? How's your soul? I mean, are you afraid that I don't love you because you're not doing your work? Man, I want to spend time with you. That's why we Sabbath, is because we can spend time and we have fun and we make memories. And the final reason why we Sabbath is to remember the work of Jesus. In the Old Testament, the reason why God instituted the Sabbath was because he wanted to remind the Israelites who had been slaves, I am the Lord your God who provides. I am the one that saved you from slavery. I'm the one that destroyed the most powerful army the world had ever known. It was by my hand. I have provided for you. And so the way that you remember that is you cease from working, because in your ceasing of working, you remember and you have faith that I am still working on your behalf. Well, Christians, that's what we do today. The reason why we Sabbath is because we know that we have a God who provides for us. Jesus comes down, he provides a way back to God. The work that he did on our behalf, living a perfect, sinless life, dying the death that we deserved and coming back to life, that was work, amen? That was work. Jesus did that on our behalf, and so we can rest in that work. We can rest and remember that work. And so if you're here today or you're watching online and you're not a Christian, I want you to understand something. True rest, true Sabbath can only be found in Jesus. True Sabbath. You're working, you're struggling, you're striving, you're trying to get things right, and your world just seems to still fall apart. Isn't that 2020 right now? It's just every time we turn the corner, every time we turn the calendar, it's like another thing is coming at us. And you're struggling, you're striving. True rest can only be found in the work of Jesus. The writer in Hebrews, he likens heaven to a Sabbath. And he says this, so then there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For whoever has entered God's rest has also rested from his works as God did from his. So whatever you're doing to try to put your life together, this is what I would encourage you to do. Bring your life to Jesus. Let him forgive you of your sin. Let him put the pieces of your life back together, and you begin to reorganize your life around him. If you're here today and you're a Christian, but you still find yourself striving and struggling, and there's never enough time in the day to get all the things that you have to do, I want you to remember this. God is a God who provides. And so if you're still striving and struggling, but you believe in Jesus, but you still have to work, do you have a faith that God is working even when you're not? Do you have faith that when you're resting, God is still working on your behalf? Is it possibly that maybe the reason why you're doing these things and you're accumulating this money and you're continue working is because God said no to that thing, but you're like, I'm going to circumvent what God says, because if I work a couple extra hours, if I work that overtime, I'll have the money to afford that thing. We need to rest. We need to trust in him. We each have 168 hours in the week, and God has given us enough time to do everything that we should do according to his will, even resting.